All right, y'all. It is June 1st. Happy June. Happy blooming. Oh, I see here that my bee fountain needs some help. It looks like probably a critter got into that and was after the water and kind of messed it all up. I'll fix that. Looks like we have some things sprouting here. Some of the poppies. Looking good. And a little cabbage looper. Enjoying the blossoms of the plant, which it has probably laid its eggs on. I don't care, though. They can eat that. The caterpillars can eat those plants. It's okay. And over here, the peas seem to be mostly getting it about how to climb this little tripod. Oh, I'm sorry, Guy. I know that wasn't there before when you sprouted, and now you're confused. It's all right, though. They'll get it. See, this one's already getting it. Lavender's looking good in its new pot. Kale is growing. Tomato plants are looking good. Seem like they've just kind of taken off here in the last couple of days. And the Egyptian onions are flowering. This is going to be so cool watching these flowers. They're so otherworldly. The other side of the garden here has already bloomed, and we've got bulbils over there that have dropped already. And here is the black cumin coming up. I'm very curious to try that. And the amaranth is looking good. Nice little 3 plants. That's all that you can take because they get really big, so you don't want to have a bunch of them taking over your garden. Compost pile. And here we see the ageratum is blooming. Yay! Looks like the blue planet has bloomed first and the red flint are still waiting. I wonder if that's a thing. I wonder if they're just slower. The sweet alyssum are really starting to bloom and expand. And looking in here, that is a bud. Crimson clover. I'm finding that a brand of foliar feed that I got was a little too strong for my plants. Some of the plants are a little burnt. Their leaves got a little burnt from the foliar feed. So I'm going to stick with what I know, my compost tea and my fish emulsion and things that I know will work without burning the plants. And whatever I put in that pot is starting to grow, so we'll see. The yarrows are there doing well, building their root systems. I'm hoping they can get big before the tomato plants do so they don't get overwhelmed. Let's see. This tomato plant, I'm not keen on it. It's not looking good. Leaf curl doesn't always mean something horrible, but it just doesn't look good. I've got so many other tomato plants at the house already started that I'm thinking I'm going to replace this one. So I don't want it to get anyone else sick if this is a virus causing so much curl. Spinach is looking good. Green beans are going on about their business despite the fact that they were pretty chewed on there earlier. And it looks like the newer leaves have not been touched. Could be that the plants are stronger now, so they're not sending out that signal to come eat me to the bugs. Or it could be that the bug spray worked. And here, the lettuce looking great. I might go ahead and harvest these after the rains come. It's going to be a great time to harvest. They look like they're ready for a salad right now. And I'll continue to drop seeds in that area so that I have a continual harvest all summer. Oh, I did forget to take my shoes off. I like to take my shoes off in the garden. I consider it a sacred space, so just kick those off. I can ground myself, do my earthing. Ooh, the coreopsis are really starting to take off. Didn't expect them to get that big, so I'm hoping they bloom this year. Either way, they will get pulled and taken home at the end of the season so they don't get tilled in spring. Poor things. Uh-oh. It looks like someone has been messing around. Oh, my parsley. It was probably the same critter that got into my bee fountain. Even these are messed up. Yeah, a critter came down through there, got into the fountain, probably trudged over here, was messing around with stuff. Ugh, I'm going to spray some liquid fence. I'm just now seeing my first evidence of critters. Maybe this was a dog? I don't know. It didn't eat anything. Birds wouldn't do that. I think it might have been someone's dog tromping around. But just in case, I will spray the liquid fence to keep anyone from munching. Everything I have planned. I have some cucamelon seeds in there I'm going to drop. Let's see here. And the seedlings are going to go right here on this tripod, and they will climb that, and they will continually put out little tiny, they look like little teeny watermelons right next to the basil there. They'll be a nice partnership. And I'll also add some more green material to my compost pile. The pile seems a little cold, a little carboniferous, maybe not quite enough nitrogen to get it cooking. So I'm going to add some greens and get that thing moving and decomposing. It's just kind of dry, like wood chips. It's not even hot in there. Not even warm to the touch. So let's get that heated up today. Dill is looking good. All right, it's time to get started. Hello, gardening friends. It is June 3rd. I'm just taking a peek out here, coming out to water and see what's going on. Watering to make sure all the seeds that I planted along here have some moisture so they can germinate. And when they do germinate, they're supported. I'm really enjoying these broccoli rabe. The flowers are just lovely, and they're attracting all kinds of little hoverflies and helpful wasps. It looks like the peas here, Mammoth Melting Sugar, I think is the variety. They're doing well. They're figuring out how to climb their little tripod. The lavender is looking good. Tomato plant is just becoming a beast. This is the one that has the most compost, the grass that I dug up off the side and flipped on its top here. And that is what the tomato plant is growing in, and it really seems like it loves all that organic matter, giving it what it needs. Note to self, that might be a good strategy to follow in the future. This tomato looks pretty good, it's just smaller. Things unfold as they unfold. Baby kale is adolescent now. And you might see this nice little white cabbage looper butterfly flitting around. Little does it know that I've sprayed most everything with BT. Caterpillars will not be chewing up my plants. Now, I did not spray the broccoli rabe because I don't care if the caterpillars eat that. They can have that. They can have their food. It's already bolted. They can go to town on that, but I don't want them munching on the rest of my stuff. We can share. Coreopsis are really starting to get big, as are these plants here, the amaranth and whatever flower that was I planted back there. They kind of look like volunteer tomato plants. We'll see what comes up as the weeks go on. Here we have black cumin coming up. The geratum flowers are starting to open. My shadow is in the way. I'm here in the afternoon and I'm usually not. It looks like I'm going to have to cut back the clover again. It's really happy and fluffy. Some of it looks like it's bolting and is about to bloom. So I'm going to have to cut it out of the way so that it doesn't crowd the alyssum and the perpetual spinach. So I will cut that back pretty hard, probably with a pair of hedge clippers, and make some space and add the clippings to the compost pile, which is not as hot as it needs to be. The cucamelon seedlings look okay. It looks like somebody dug that one up. I planted way more than I needed because I didn't know if they would survive the transplantation, and I'm definitely going to water them today. also going to spray my bug repellent, my homemade allium and hot chili blend. I'm going to be spraying that to make sure things don't get chewed up more than they really need to. I'm willing to share, but not to let things be destroyed. Dill's getting tall. Love the smell of that. And the carrots are doing really well, getting bigger. See, the green beans are starting to look a lot better, just not as chewed up as they were. See, the first leaves are pretty beat up. And the newer leaves, not so much. So I think the pest pressure is easing off, and I won't have to do much else. Lettuce is looking really good. I think I will probably take that out because I do have more coming. Oh, free fertilizer from a bird. See, that's why you wash your produce, folks. There's poop everywhere. The yarrows, doing good, getting taller. And here we see the peas doing what peas do. Grabbing onto the string, climbing, doing their thing. Oops, we've got a smartweed hiding here. I'm going to grab that. As those get big really fast and their roots are very substantial. Don't let them get big. Spinach is looking much bigger. I'm looking forward to harvesting some of that, along with the lettuce greens and having a nice salad. Over here, coreopsis, again looking good. The arugulas are starting to get really big. I've been harvesting them and they are just delicious. This variety is so yummy. One of my favorite things, and I'll continue to work with those all year. The beets are getting big as well. They kind of all of a sudden decided to get big. They had a little spurt. Plants will have growth spurts according to rain and different factors. Lots of pigweed coming up. I need to pluck these out while they're small. And I won't bore you by doing all the weeding on camera. I'll come back and do that after the video is over. This bean has some new leaves. Hopefully it'll make it. This one got really chewed up. And of course the parsley that got hit by a critter is dead ski. Well, we still have this parsley here in the bed, still doing well. I'm seeing a lot of lamb's quarter, and that is an edible wild green, very nutritious, yummy. You see how it has kind of a dusky white color on the leaves? It's going to get pretty tall, and it tastes a lot like spinach, so I'll be harvesting some of that as well. But watch oxalate content if you're sensitive, because it is pretty high. And the dahlia is looking so cute. What else would I like to show you? I think that's it for now. I will get to work weeding. See you later. I have a little friend here. What is it? What is it? What? He just keeps yelling at me. Are you thirsty? You want me to get away from your nest? Ah. It's a nice display, but I don't know what it means. Hello, gardening friends, and hello, blazing star, about to bloom. It's very exciting. I have cut back or even removed some of the broccoli rabe. They're starting to set seed now, and it's just an obscene amount of seed. I don't need that much seed. So what I'll do eventually is use it as part of my cover crop mix, and it'll be lovely. And as you can see, the peas are starting to flower. Looks like they're climbing their tripod nicely. And as you can see here, I've pruned back the tomato plants for better airflow. They were really kind of trying to get out of control, bushy, and you don't want that to block the airflow and to cause fungal concerns. And right here, we see some little greens coming up that I've planted. They're beginning to sprout. That's an exciting time. Oh, and the kale is doing great. One of my favorite forms. Everyone has responded pretty well to the foliar feed that I gave. Looking green and happy. They seem to be going with the added nutrients. Onions are doing well. The amaranth is getting big. It seems to be getting much taller now. And it's next to what are definitely volunteer tomatoes that I didn't plant there, so we'll see what happens with those. And the ageratum is looking oddly floppy. I don't remember the stems being like that on ones that I've grown before. I hope they're okay. Now, the sweet alyssum and the perpetual spinach are getting bigger. I just harvested my first round of the greens. Delicious. I really love it. It's doing better now that it's getting a little more food, a little more nitrogen. I've been cutting back the clover, which releases nitrogen into the soil out of the nodules when the root dies back in response to being cut up top. Nitrogen. And I've harvested about half of the lettuce here. Took a huge bag of lettuce home and had big salads and then been juicing it. I also planted some Brentwood lettuce, which has a beautiful red color, so that I'll have successive crops going all season. I checked the size of the carrots, and they're about the size of my pinky finger, so obviously not quite ready to harvest, but I'll continue to water them, give them a little boost of phosphorus and maybe a little bit of iron through their leaves to make sure that they have what they need. The borage is getting big, cucamelons, surviving, thriving, and I've given them some of the chop and drop of the clover. Looks like every cucamelon I planted survived, which I didn't plan on, so let's see how that goes. Hopefully it won't be overcrowded. What else is going on over here? I checked some of the beets, and they are also about pinky finger size right now, so they have a ways to go. The greens are a little touched. I'm wondering if they're getting enough phosphorus. I'm going to give them a little bit more phosphorus to help the root development and to help their leaves look a little better. The cosmos are doing well, getting bigger. And the ageratum, man, just flaccid, for lack of a better term. I really hope they're okay. I'm going to grab them some water if they need it. The spinach has been great. I've been harvesting that, and just that small little patch has given quite a bit of spinach. Green beans are much healthier now, and they're recovering, and they are even flowering, some of them. The arugula, really, really great variety, ancient heirloom. It is semi-perennial. It's perennial in Mediterranean climates, but it just acts a little different here in Ohio. And as you can see, we've got little tiny buds, little flower buds getting ready to form. It's such a delicious variety, and it still tastes good even after it bolts, what I've discovered. It is just one of the best varieties, and you won't regret it if you grow it. Another lamb's quarter here. I will let it be. It is an edible green, very nutritious, and it's not going to bother anybody. What else? Maybe all that I have to share for right now. Just enjoy the flowers and the sun. See you next time. Hello, gardening friends. Just doing a quick check-in and came to water the little babes. Looks like everyone is looking good. The ageratum is no longer floppy, so I guess there was no reason for concern with that. It is really windy. That's why I'm doing this voiceover. And here we have little baby greens coming up. They're bigger than they were the other day. Tomato plant is really appreciating the pruning. I'm seeing a lot more flowers. It has stimulated them to do their thing. And the blazing star is really, you can just barely see the color of the blooms getting ready to come. It's very exciting. Ooh. And as you can see here, the flowers and resulting bulbils are starting to develop, and some of them are sprouting on the plant, which is always cool looking. It's such a cool plant. I'll just keep harvesting the bulbils as they come out, put them in the ground until they're all over the whole garden border. They're doing a great job of multiplying. Ooh, and the dahlia is about to open. It's so pretty. And that is dry as a bone, definitely needs water. The geratum have officially opened. They're looking fluffy and pretty. Ooh, check out that zucchini in my neighbor's plot. Huge. Good on you, Terry. The cucamelons are all still alive. Watch me have 10 plants and it'll just be this massive vines over here and I won't know what to do with. Oh, green beans looking pretty good. The new leaves on the green beans are not being chewed still, so I am happy about that. There's no longer that pest pressure on them. They're not sending that signal out that they're struggling. And along here, the Beatina and the Alyssum look great. I'm harvesting that pretty much every time I come out, and it's been really tasty. Let's see. I think that I like this one a little better cooked, blanched, and I like the darker green variety better raw in a salad. They both just have their pluses, and I'm going to grow both. But I'm loving this one blanched. It's so good. Really tender. And it'll stay tender and good tasting no matter what the weather's like. So it's fantastic. Got to remember to water there by those lettuces. There's seeds in the ground. Beets are looking good. They're not getting any more chewed than they were. That spray is killer. And I got the soil test back from the county, and it looks like the soil in this garden is absolutely overloaded with calcium and also magnesium. Someone probably had tomatoes with blossom end rot, assumed that the soil needed calcium, and just loaded it up. I mean, it was off the charts. So I'm going to have to find some tips on calcium remediation. And definitely not put any more in this garden. There's plenty of moisture there under the tomatoes. The leaves are curled due to wind stress or some other kind of stress. It's incredibly windy out here, but I do not want to water these. We don't want them to be waterlogged. Let's see. Oh, the parsley is fine. Plenty of moisture there for them. Don't need water. The beauty of mulching your soil, less water loss through evaporation. These little snapdragons haven't done much. Wondering if there's not much nutrition. This is where I dug the grass out and the soil was kind of clay dominant. I'm wondering if it just is not that great of an environment. So, I'm going to pull some weeds. Oh, look at this pea. It's flowering. It says, "Thank you for getting that mustard plant out of my light." Arugula bolting. All the shallots are looking good. Living there with the arugula, a whole row of them. Ultimately, I'm pleased with everything. I'm a little worried about the crazy calcium levels in the soil, but I'll figure out what to do with that as the season goes on, and we'll all talk about some tips on what to do with that. For now, I'm going to water babies and talk to you later. Hello, gardening friends. It is June 11th, and I'm here to do some watering and weeding. Checking on my neighbor's plot, looking good, but man, look at all that pigweed. We definitely have a pigweed problem in this garden because I've been pulling a lot of it, and I've got my soil covered. Big issue. The nasturtiums are cute, though. All right, my ageratum are there blooming, looking fine. I was concerned. They looked kind of wilty. I thought maybe they picked up a wilt Or there was something in the soil, but they seem to be fine now. Here we see under the cut back rod plant, the little perpetual spinaches are coming up and doing well. There's some weeds too, but not too bad. We'll get those today. And here you see the staggering amount of seed that you can get from one small broccoli rod plant. I'll be harvesting that seed and using it as part of my cover crop strategy this fall. So it's going to be a whole lot of rob going on in this piece. And we see here the first snow pea of the season is now mine. Let's see what it's like. Oh yeah, it's a good one. I'll spare you replicating the chewing sounds. Just trust me, it was good. Pull these weeds here. Ugh. And this rod plant, I think I'm just going to cut it back again. It's trying to flower again. I don't want it to. I want the peas to have room to do their thing. So I'm just going to cut it back really sharply and try to get it out of the way. The kale is doing well. More perpetual spinach. I have room for more kale, but I think I'll leave that space open for peppers. I have some seedlings going at home that will need somewhere to live. Goodness, so much seed. Ooh, I think I'll let those 3 plants be my seed providers. Maybe cut that one back. I don't know. It's so much seed. The coreopsis are looking really good. I'm hoping they'll flower this year. Those volunteer tomato plants could be some kind of a nightshade weed, but it just looks like a volunteer. We'll have to see what happens as time goes on. You do have tomato plant lookalikes, so be careful with that. As the amaranth develops, I just want to make sure they have enough room. No, you're climbing the wrong plant. Here, climb the string. Let me help this pea. Hey, tendrils, come on. Come on. It wants to do it itself. It'll figure it out. I'm going to be careful not to unalive any bees hanging out in this clover. I'm not wearing shoes, as per usual. I'm going to use this opportunity to connect with the earth. The ageratum over here are doing well. And look at this dahlia, giving out all kinds of vibes. Gorgeous. This is why I plant flowers. Just to see that. Sweet alyssum is also doing very well, attracting all of the braconid wasps, the hoverflies, all of the helper bugs. If you look closely, you can see them all hovering around and loving those little tiny flowers. The dill is doing very well. I've been harvesting it. That keeps it shorter and bushy rather than it getting tall and floppy and just bolting immediately. I find dill to be a little bit moistening, but that's just for me. I love the tangy taste. The cucamelons, they look like they need nitrogen and water, and I will give them both today. I just happen to have that in my back pocket. Lots of tomato flowers here. The tomato plants are looking good. They have really responded to the pruning. I may have to do some more pruning on that one. It's really out of control. These are the plants that have access to the compost underneath, and it's pretty obvious at this point that it has really helped them. All this grass over here where I had to fix the border of the garden, I flipped it upside down, put cardboard down over top of it, and then stacked a bunch of the duck bedding on top of it. Ton of organic matter there, and the tomatoes are liking it. It's probably mostly rotted back at this point, and they are loving it. And those over here got none of that, and that's probably why they're smaller. Speaking of pigweed, another amaranth weed. If you just get them while they're little like that, then it's not a big issue. And it looks like this hyacinth bean has decided to kind of bolt up and start climbing faster. I'm going to come through on these and pull off damaged leaves. If there's a leaf that is mostly chewed or mostly damaged, take it off the plant. It's zapping the plant's energy for the plant to try to support this busted leaf that's not really photosynthesizing very effectively. If you just take it off, the plant can devote all of its energy to supporting leaves that are supporting it back. No need to try to heal a wounded leaf that's doing nothing for you. Some of these are borderline. That's a weed. See, they're crafty. They get in there in between your plants where they know you can't see them. I don't know if they're consciously doing that or if it just happens and I'm projecting that onto them, but seems to me they know what they're doing. Oop, bad leaf. That's pretty chewed. We'll chop and drop, give it right back to the area from whence it came. Retain those nutrients in the area rather than taking them away off-site. Looks like the lettuces are too tightly packed. I'm going to harvest some today, get them back to the house and eat them. They're also really good for juicing this time of year. If you're feeling overheated, juicing lettuces can be a great way to get hydrated and cool off. If it's too much energy and effort for you to eat a salad, I know my digestive tract does not like that. It gets overwhelmed by too many fibrous greens coming in. But just juicing them, you get all the nutrients and your body can absorb it really easily. Woo, big old weed. We see here that the beets are doing well. They're getting bigger. And I'm going to resist the temptation to pull them out and look at them. I'm just going to let them grow. I'll be taking the beets out and letting the cosmos stay. And I'm going to be putting in cantaloupes in here. At least 2 of them, maybe 3. I love cantaloupe. I wanted to plant them in July so that the threat of the first wave of bugs that would hit squash-related plants would be gone. So that's one strategy you can use. And I will probably also plant the shiso, the purple shiso, over here. And there where the borage is. I see a bug. See that red beetle? That's probably a squash beetle. Move on along, freakazoid. Nothing here for you to eat yet. Yeah, so shiso right here. And probably just put it in different places throughout the garden as a filler because it's so beautiful. And I want to try it. I want to know what it tastes like and see if I like growing the plant. My parsley, I'm going to feed it some iron today. It looks a little peaked. Probably deficient in nitrogen as well because we now know the soil is overloaded with calcium and magnesium, and that can make it difficult for your plants to take up other micronutrients. It's just like when we take too much of one vitamin and we can't absorb another. And parsley just has trouble taking up iron. It's just a thing, so give it a little bit of help and it'll do well. The arugula looks fantastic. A lot of it is bolting. I'm going to stop harvesting and let it just bolt and see what it looks like. I'm thinking about growing it as an ornamental, and I'm just going to see what they look like. And I'm definitely going to keep the seed because I grow this every year. I love it. Very pleased with the beet bed. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out because I did use extra duck bedding, the pine shavings, about a 3-inch layer. It's pretty thick, thicker than I usually use. And I was wondering if the beets were going to respond to that or not like it. And it seems that they really like it. We'll see how big they get. Terry's garden's looking great. He does a good job of coming through with his little tiller and picking out weeds, and his green beans are looking great. It's a testament to adding manure to the soil and how that really helps things. I've got a few weeds here to pull, help out so that both of our plots can stay relatively weed-free and we don't get more seeds generated. Now, in a till system, the tiller will dredge up seeds from the seed bank, millions of seeds It brings them up to the surface where they can germinate. Unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. So we're going to have to pull a lot of weeds here in this garden. Oh, look here. This is purslane. It's one of my favorite edible greens. It is absolutely delicious. It can brighten up a sandwich or a salad, and it's the highest terrestrial form of omega-3 you can get. So I planted it throughout my garden, but it tends to just show up anywhere. So there you go. It's going to show up whether you want it or not. Oh, dahlia. So pretty. So I'm going to get started weeding, watering, and giving the foliar feed of phosphorus and iron to the parsley and anyone else who seems like they need it. Harvest the lettuces and harvest anything else that seems ready to go. And then I'll be out. Ta-ta for now. Okay, everyone. It seems in the last day or two, things have gotten vigorous. Ooh, that's a good one. Yum, yum. Yep. Delish. We have bees. Oh my goodness. Bees everywhere. Bye, bee. The hyacinth beans are starting to really enter their climbing phase. They're climbing rapidly. I better get some ropes ready for them to start climbing. And these peas are just wildly reaching out. I should have put that tripod there when they first started growing so they could orient themselves. Perpetual spinaches are looking good. Apparently, these folk don't mind the heat. Another baby. They don't mind the heat as much as I do, I can tell you that. The tomato plants are looking quite beastly. I pruned them again and they seem to respond to that. Ooh, weeds. Ugh, big spiky weed. Better put gloves on to get that one out. These are getting tall. The amaranth is looking good. Gorgeous color. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for snow peas, hiding back there. Everyone else is looking good. It seems like they have responded to the additional nutrients. They really appreciated that dose of micronutrients that I gave them the other day. That was Wednesday. The cucamelons are looking pretty sad. Well, some of them are. I think maybe there's just not enough nitrogen over there for them. I'm hoping that some of them survive as I keep giving them little boosts of nitrogen. They're dug into some compost there, so I'm wondering why they seem to be struggling. Maybe they just really don't like being transplanted, like legend says. Lettuces look a little crunchy. I'm just going to take off troubled leaves. We talked about that, snapping off leaves that aren't doing much for the plant. That will allow the plant to devote resources to leaves that are helping. Here I'm just going to chop and drop a little bit of this clover. It's as simple as that. You just pull the leaves off and drop them right down, and then the nitrogen and then root nodules comes available as the root mass dies off to match what is dying off on top. Definitely need nitrogen in this garden, according to the soil test and what I'm seeing. The beets are getting big. And this hyacinth bean is entering like that bolting phase. They stay small for a while and then all of a sudden they just climb really quickly. And it is time. And this one, I have decided not to grow them horizontally as planned. It's going to have to go up. I'm going to put it up here onto this tomato cage because this tomato plant, I don't think I'm going to keep it. The struggle is real for this plant. It just does not look so hot. It may have a virus. It might be wind stress. I don't know, but my other plants are doing so well that I think I'm just going to take this one out and let the hyacinth bean climb that, and maybe even a cantaloupe a little later in the season. Yeah, we'll just watch it. The green beans are looking good. They're flowering. Should have beans soon. The parsley color looks a little better after I gave it some iron. So maybe that was what was going on. Maybe. And these lamb's quarters, they look like they're bolting. They just don't look so hot. So I'm just going to chop and drop that. I'm not going to eat them with them looking the way they do. Sorry. I have some dandelion greens growing there. I love dandelion greens. And I'm going to fill in some empty spots by the onions so that I can have some greens that I know are clean and haven't been sprayed. Massive amount of seeds. These Robbie plants. I'll have plenty of seeds for cover crop for sure. Ooh, more flowers on the green beans. And lots of tomato flowers. Things appear to be coming along. Terry's got some kind of dust on his plants. I hope that's just diatomaceous earth. And over here we see the purslane. Yay! That I very intentionally planted in the garden. It's popping up. It is so delicious. And the volunteer tomato plants, I pulled some of them out. There were too many of them over there. They're not going to be healthy competing for resources. And they would interfere with the amaranth. I'm not sure where they came from. They might have been in my compost. Who knows? They're there now. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm just going to see what happens. That's black cumin here. Struggling a bit. The soil is very dry. It has a big crack in it. The soil's been uncovered so that the seeds could sprout, and that's what happens when your soil's uncovered. No likey. So today, one of the things I'll do is plant the shiso all along the side, and probably some here as well. It's a gorgeous plant, and I'm curious what it tastes like. I may even put some in the front here on the boundary of the garden, just for the fun of it, just to see what happens. And I will also put in the ground these mystery plants that I've forgotten what I planted in there. There looks like there's herbs in there. There might be poppies. Maybe the poppies never germinated, and I thought they were empty pots, and I put herbs in them. Who knows? This will be the random corner right here. We'll let things be whatever they be. It'll be fun. So I will get to work watering. It is going to be very hot, and I want to make sure the babies have water. And I will talk to you later. Hello, gardening friends. I'm getting a little bit of a talking to from Mama Killdeer over there. It's all good. Just popping in today is a big day for me. And I'm glad that these dahlias are here to greet me. Beautiful flowers. I'm going to kick my shoes off. Today, I will be offering my very first guided journey, my Lotus Power journey since COVID. This feels like a big day to me, returning to myself, and I just wanted to come over here and ground myself, connect with the earth and the plants. And I knew that my plants would help me center. These tomato plants are going to be loaded with plants. I watered yesterday. It's super hot. It's been in the 90s, which is not typical. Man, it's hot. And there's not too many weeds to pull today. And it looks like the peas are flowering and doing their thing. Lots of little snow peas. Here's another one. And honestly, if any of these make it to the house for me to actually prepare in food, that'll be fortunate because I usually just eat them all while I'm here. They're too tasty when they're fresh like that. Those aren't quite big enough yet. I think I'll wait till tomorrow to get those. My neighbor was kind enough to lend me the water hose, so I watered everything in really deeply yesterday, not just using my watering bucket and watering the babies. The nasturtium's starting to bloom finally, a little slow. And I'm going to be very careful not to unalive those bees down there and get stung in the process. The ageratum are looking great. And check out this big zucchini plant. Looks like he has harvested some of the zucchini. They were getting really big. I don't eat zucchini. A perpetual spinach, however, I do eat. They are doing great. As you can see here, the nasturtium has this gorgeous deep burgundy red color. I'm just going to deadhead it to encourage it to bloom some more. Who else do we have here? The cucamelons have their first set of true leaves on them, and they're starting to turn green. But this one, not doing very well. I'm sorry. Go back to the earth. Go back. Thank you. I'm going to pull these weeds here. Make sure the little cucamelons don't have to compete with anyone for nutrients. Some people like the concept of a nurse weed, letting weeds grow alongside their crops. For certain circumstances, that could be good. But, that little bit of shade and shelter they provide, we don't really need that here. I know my garden is low in critical nutrients, so I'm not going to let weeds take any of them. Even the green beans that are in deep shade have a ton of flowers on them. They'll have lots of green beans. All the green beans seem to be kind of exploding all at once. And these carrots, there's a little weed. Get that? The carrots are starting to get round. Parisian carrots are round. You just want to get them before they bolt because then they won't taste very good once the greens shoot up and they start to flower, because they start drawing nutrients out of the root to do that. Lots of flowers on this tomato. This one has not been pruned, and I may have to do that. Oh, look, little baby tomato. When it's this hot, those baby tomatoes are not going to ripen, even if they were of size. I'm surprised that these plants are setting fruit in this weather, but it's just a testament to the heavy mulch, keeping their roots nice and cool. I think it's really helping them from getting heat stressed. Cover the soil, friends. A lot of weeds over here. Not much mulch, so that's the problem. This spinach is bolting, as you can see. There's the flower. It's making more spinaches. A few weeds, again, because this soil is pretty bare. That little pepper plant is struggling. It's not getting enough sun. So I'm going to move all the pepper plants that need more sun into the sun when the heat wave breaks next week. I'm not trying to do that in this heat. Moving plants in this heat. Ooh. Now these pea plants are going to climb these strings. And it's low enough for me to just step over when I need to get in here, so I'm not going to have a problem with them climbing. Let the bean climb this string. See that? It'll get the idea. This one's getting the idea. And this one, little genius, is really going to town. It's climbing very well, and it's all the way like past waist height. Here are some escarole that I forgot I planted. Hooray. I love it. It's one of my favorite greens. Parsley's looking good. Getting bigger and greener due to the foliar feed. Now this hyacinth bean, see it climbing? All they need is that string that has some texture to it to climb, and they'll do well. They don't need a big lattice or an arbor or anything like that. Just a piece of jute twine is all they have. And this will biodegrade. We have a little someone hanging out here. Looks like a little grasshopper. Please be nice, grasshopper. Thank you. Don't eat my plants. I'll be nice to you. As we can see, the arugula has flowered. The flowers are these really sweet, light yellow color, these really airy stems. It's attracting all kinds of beneficials, and I'll have tons of seeds of my favorite arugula variety. Now, this is a big baby tomato. I can't believe these plants are setting fruit in this weather. It's crazy. I did decide to leave that troubled tomato plant there for a little longer. These two over here are aromas and doing well. I look forward to seeing some cooler temperatures next week and maybe some tomatoes turning red. And I can actually eat them because I don't like green tomatoes. Ugh. The blazing star is starting to bloom. The little buds are opening. I'm very excited to see this pink bottle brush effect. I've never grown this plant, and I'm very happy to have it in my garden this year. You see, the dill is getting big. I've been cutting it back, and the secret to keeping your dill bushy rather than it getting leggy and floppy is harvesting it. Harvest often, cut the tops off, and use them in your food, and the plant will respond by becoming bushier rather than tall and skinny. So keep it fluffy. Don't be afraid to harvest when it's still young because you want it to kind of train itself to be bushy rather than leggy. This nasturtium is also blooming. Really creamsicle orange color. I will tell you, this kind of interesting color of the nasturtium rather than the standard orange yellow ones, they don't seem to be as vigorous. They're taking longer to bloom. And they're not as tolerant of the crap soil as most nasturtiums are. So I would say if you want to grow them for the purely utilitarian purposes, don't get the fancy ones like this one. They seem like they would appreciate better soil and things going a little better for them. So there you go. But I wanted the pretty in addition to a trap plant. Look at these aromas. Yay! They're getting to a good size, even in this weather, huh? Now, they're not going to ripen yet, but if you want your tomatoes to ripen and they haven't ripened on the vine yet because of too much sun, try throwing a shade cloth over the plant to help the plant stay cool and to hopefully get your tomatoes to start ripening. Now, you're going to be blocking sun from the plant, so you won't want to do that in a growth phase, but for a short period of time to trigger ripening, get your plants cooled off, it might just work. What else do we have here? Look here, we have crimson clover budding, getting ready to bloom. I've done nothing for this crop. I've been chopping and dropping it all season, and it's not really been fed, not watered really, and it's just gangbusters. It's doing really well. I highly recommend this crimson clover seed. I will put a link to the company where I got it from so you can grab some for your own garden if you'd like. It's just been really good. And this was old seed that was many years old that I wasn't even sure if it was going to germinate or not. And so I kind of overseeded and it looks like pretty much all of it germinated. Pretty close to 100% germination rate on old seed, so can't say enough about that. Ooh, another snow pea for me. They're sneaky. You got to get to these plants early because they put this fruit out and it'll be huge and you won't see it. Matter of fact, I'm going to grab a couple of more of these seed pods because I am afraid that I'm going to forget them and then they'll be huge and puffy and inedible and the plant will start to die back. I can finish up this harvesting and get back with you a little bit later, and I'll leave you with some pretty flowers to look at as we say goodbye and happy gardening till next time. Hello, friends. It is June 19th. I'm just taking a little quick look here for you for an update. Everything's looking pretty good. We see down here the shiso is hanging in there, looking good. Oh, you got a weed here. Just pull them when they're small. They're no big deal. Just checking in. Looks like these little babies are doing well. There you go. And here is a baby pepper plant. I moved from a location where it was not getting any sun. And there are a couple pepper plants that I need to move. Some more babies. The kale is looking good. I have been harvesting some of that. And a crimson clover blossom is about to open. It's always fun. Blazing star. The fun is just beginning with those flowers opening. Amaranth looking good. Getting bigger. And here, the nasturtium looking cute. Everyone over here looks pretty good. A little peaked, probably needs some nitrogen. I can get to that. And these two are holding hands. Oh my gosh, that is fresh. And just taking a peek. The dill is still looking good. Tomatoes, wow, lots of tomatoes there. There's going to be plenty of sauce coming forth. And the perpetual spinach is looking great. I've been harvesting it, enjoying that. And the leaves are looking nice and untouched now. They don't really have much pest pressure. The carrots are looking great. And also just give you a nice look at the borage. The flowers are now opening and they're just so pretty. The pollinators absolutely love this plant. It will draw so many pollinators into your garden. Carrots looking healthy. Lettuce looking good. Don't really see anything over here that needs any help from me at this point. Coreopsis, they're really bushy. I'm really thinking they're going to bloom this year. It's going to be exciting. And wow, these are looking much better now. The parsley is looking much better after getting the iron and a little foliar feed. And the cosmos are continuing to get taller. Those will be blooming soon. I forgot to take my shoes off today. Let's see here. What else? Coreopsis over here is looking good. It looks like it's bolting. It just got taller all of a sudden. So I am heartened that it's going to bloom and we'll have flowers to see. Look at that. That is so cool. And that is a native Ohio plant. So it's really wonderful to have those here. Hello, gardening friends. As you can see, I have cut back some rob plants and all the wonderful seeds. The shiso here is doing well. I also cut back the peas that were there. They were just taking up too much room. And the dahlia need a little more sun. And the green bean will have a little more sun. The blazing star, look how cool that is. That will open from the top down. The crimson clover with the rain is starting to bloom now. We're seeing a lot more flower heads. And I've tied up the broccoli rabe seed heads to keep them from flopping everywhere and just getting in the way. And despite the fact that I cut it back, this plant is flowering again, so more seeds. Shiso, looking good. I have pruned back the peas. They were just about done. I was getting about tired of eating them all the time. So I'm going to let the last few pods sit on the plant and mature to let the plant know that it's okay to go ahead and stop and it can reach the end of its life cycle. I have a little pepper plant here, another one farther down, and hopefully we can start over with the pepper situation and do a little better. The amaranth is getting really big. And again, I tidied up this seed bunch of rob. We have some baby lovage. 2 seedlings there. I'm hoping that they will do well here and get to at least half their mature height. The plant gets enormous, but it's not going to get there this year because it's planted so late. Looks like the black cumin is doing well. I also have some sprouts from the new seeds that I put in. Careful not to unalive bees. The flowers here are looking great. Oh, so pretty. And what do you know? The snapdragon has bloomed. Oh! Apparently they're okay. I was afraid maybe they weren't going to flower. Tomato plant? Wow. I mean, just loaded with tomatoes. And the cucamelons are looking better. They're looking happier. They have little tendrils. They're reaching out for something to climb. So I have given them strings to allow them to make their way up onto the tripod lattice. The tomato plants are literally just covered with fruit. Oh, there's fruit down here. I just keep finding tomatoes. I'm definitely going to be making a big pot of sauce. And plus they're continuing to flower. So yay for that. More flowers. I have harvested some of the carrots. They didn't quite get to full size, but they were good size and they were really sweet and really tasty. A little bit bigger than golf balls, but not quite as big as a softball. So I'm pleased with how they performed in this very compacted soil. Just a nest of green beans under here to harvest. I'll have to get those. And this Rome is also fruiting. Not quite as much, but it's still doing pretty well. Again, I'm going to let these pods mature so that the plant can go ahead and rest and fulfill its life cycle. Basil is blooming, looking cute. That's really the only reason why I plant these purple basils, because they're just so pretty. And the borage. Look at that. You see what that is? That's a Japanese beetle. You want the Japanese beetle to be on the borage, not on your other plants. See all those flowers on the ground? This guy is probably the one that did it. So I'm going to go ahead and dispatch of this beetle. Okay. Beetle has been dispatched. There will likely be more, but I will have a jar of soapy water here in the garden waiting. So in the future, when I see one, I can just flick it into the jar. Hand picking is the best way to deal with them. Unfortunately, they're too hard to get just spraying with soap by hand. So just hand pick them. I didn't get to plant my 4 o'clock flowers. They didn't survive, so no 4 o'clocks to help control the beetles. These are climbing really well. And this tomato, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this plant. It's just giving me a sickly vibe. Oh, pigweed chilling in my parsley patch. This parsley, by the way, tastes amazing. So much better than the hydro parsley in the store. I have thinned the beet bed considerably. The beets were good size, a little bit bigger than golf balls, and they're really sweet, super like candy sweet. And that baby cantaloupe is going to have maybe 2 or 3 friends that I will also put here in the beet bed as I'm harvesting these beets and pulling them and making room for them. The arugula is so pretty. I'm definitely going to grow it as an ornamental because it's just so pretty and the flavor can't be beat. That is Cosmos. And I'm going to let those flower and look pretty They've got a head start, so the cantaloupe leaves will not block their growth or their sun, and it'll be fine. Ooh, who are you? Ah, that is a soldier beetle. It is a friend. Its nymphs and larvae are predatory and eat bad bugs, and they feed on nectar. And ooh, the coreopsis has buds on it, and that means it's going to flower this year. So I am super excited. It's going to flower its first year, and it's going to be really pretty. And this arugula, I will share some of these seeds. I'll have plenty. It tastes exactly the same after it bolted. Even with the drought and even with bolting, it still has those sweet undertones and a really hot peppery flavor, and it can't be beat. Oh, look who else is bolting. Look how cool that is. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and grab this head because if they're in the mood to bolt, then I need to get this lettuce home and eat it. I know what your plans are. And then that little baby will have room to grow. I'm just going to watch that one because it looks cool. So that's what we have so far. Everyone seems happy after the rain. We'll check in later. Hello, gardening friends. It's June 26th, and here is the update. Lots of flowers. And the arugula is so cute. It's really, I would consider it an ornamental. It's so pretty, and it tastes good. The flowers are numerous now. I've been cutting them back. And the random plants that I'm not sure what they are doing better. There's definitely some dill there and some parsley, but other things. The crimson clover is blooming more completely now. And let's see. It is starting to mist. I may need to quickly kind of bolt out of here. We've had some unpredictable weather the last few days. I'm glad for the rain, but it's been making it hard to film. These baby peppers here and some peppers that were next to the tomato plants in shade, I've moved them because obviously those beastly tomato plants are taking up all the sun. So I've moved some peppers into this area here. The green beans are doing well, and they're all throughout the garden, and they're all giving a ton of beans, even the ones that are in shade. Green beans really don't mind the shade. You don't need more than a few plants unless you're canning a bunch of beans. And now that I've allowed some of the pods to stay on the plant, these peas are starting to die back. And that's good because the hyacinth bean, you can kind of see back there, is just getting to that point where it wants to climb and fill out. So I'm going to train it over the little tripod and it'll be gorgeous. And these greens are doing really well, along with the kale, another pepper plant, and a transplanted yarrow. Again, this was up underneath that giant tomato plant and wasn't getting any sun, so I've had to move them. Hello, blazing star. Amaranth is getting really tall. It's now up to my chest pretty much. Black cumin looks like it's about to bloom and has buds on it. So that's exciting. It should be either a white or a blue flower. And whatever that is, it's about to bloom. They might be poppies, I'm not sure. You'll find out when I do. And the lavender and the rosemary have been moved into the sun. Hi, pretty, pretty. I love all the purple shades. Keep cutting your flowers. It makes them flower more. We have a yellow nasturtium here. It's going to open today, probably. Mondo zucchini. Ugh, I hate zucchini. Anyway, the cucamelons look better. They're climbing. They're looking a little healthier. I'm happy to see that because they really just look kind of lame there in the beginning. This is a friend. Again, that's a soldier beetle. We saw one the other day. Soldier beetle might be the same one that was chilling here yesterday, or maybe its mate. I don't know. Putting out all these sweet alyssum and tiny little flowers for them is what draws them into your garden to help you out. The borage, very busy, covered with bees. And I'm also using it as a Japanese beetle trap. There's one floating in there now. Not too much of a problem, but I'm definitely going to continue hand picking to prevent a problem. And these tomatoes are going to start turning red soon. So what I've done is I've attached bird scare ribbon. And you have to attach it in a way that it can flutter freely. And it's really flimsy material. If you tried to tie it onto the tomato cage, it wouldn't move very well and the material would just shred. As soon as you put pressure on it, it would just fall apart. So what I've done is you take a piece of duct tape. I saw this in a YouTube video. And you poke a hole in the duct tape and tie it to a piece of string. And then it just floats around like a little streamer. The lightest breeze will get it going. But the duct tape is not going to shred. And it's going to hold the tape together, the ribbon together. And it's going to work well. We'll see what happens. And I've put them so that as soon as the wind blows, all of the tomato plants are covered by fluttering ribbon that will scare the birds away. Sorry, birdies, not today. The shiso's growing really well. Up under there is where the poor yarrow plants were trying to survive. We definitely needed to move them. The bird scare ribbon is scaring me right now in my face. Okay, more green beans. Yay. So many green beans at the house. It's crazy. Just a few plants, people. That's all you need. Lettuce bolting. I think I showed that to you last time. It's getting tall. You definitely don't want to eat it after that process starts because it's incredibly bitter. I usually like to allow at least one of the plants to go through their full life cycle to honor that plant's desire to have a full life. And these hyacinth beans like to wrap clockwise. They refuse to wrap counterclockwise. So if you're wondering why your beans are not climbing the way you want them to, make sure you wrap them clockwise around the string and not in the opposite direction because the plant doesn't understand that. Lesson learned. These coreopsis are just getting ready to bloom. They've all got buds on them. Maybe the next rain we get today will stimulate them to open. I'm very excited that they bloomed their first year. Spinach, bolting, that's what it does best. There's going to be a bunch of seeds back there, and fall I'll have free spinach. The shiso's doing well. And I have taken out even more of the adult beets. These are the baby beets from the second and third round of seeds that I planted. And I'll just let those get to baby size and then harvest them because we need the space for the cantaloupes. And it'll be great. And here we have, as labeled, marjoram. It's beginning to come up. You can see the baby sprouts. And it's kind of a perennial-ish herb. It's probably not going to survive here in these conditions. It's a very open area. I just love growing it. It tastes really good in a variety of different foods. These arugula flower stalks are so delicate, but they don't fall down in the wind. They're amazing. They are not staked. Dandelion greens are getting bigger. You can also see the shallots mixed in there with the arugula. And the dahlias look a little They got some chlorosis, some yellowing. I'm going to give them a foliar feed as well as a liquid fish emulsion to see if I can get them to perk up a bit. It has been really dry. They may just be dehydrated and not able to access the nutrients in the soil, but giving them a gentle feed is not going to hurt them anyway. So I think that is it for now. I will check back in with you when I have another update, or maybe the first tomato to harvest. Happy gardening! Hello, gardening friends. It's June 28th, very close to the end of the month here, and I'm just going to give a little tour of what I did today. I pruned back those crazy tomato plants, mostly pruning from the inside of the plant. I'll give you a little bit of a look. They're starting to get really dense in the middle. So, what I did is I just pruned an opening in the center to keep air circulating, to keep light getting in there. You don't want branches laying on top of each other and rubbing on each other during wind because they can injure each other. And then if you have an injury, there's an opening for disease to come in. The green beans I am harvesting by the double handfuls. I've been blanching them and freezing them, and it's going to be wonderful when there's no fresh stuff in the winter. The flowers are just really popping. I have cut them back. Broccoli raw. I cut it back again and it flowered again. I mean, this plant just will not stop. Yay for flowers. I pulled out even more of the beets, some of the baby beets, and probably the last of the ones that are ready to harvest today. Not sure how long I'm going to leave them in there because the cantaloupes are already in and they need that space. And I'm going to put a cantaloupe over here as well, empty spot right there, and let it climb over that tomato support. I have cut back the lettuce that was bolting. I just don't want it to take up a ton of space in the garden. I don't need the seeds. I have a ton of lettuce seeds. So I think I'll just let that space open up for something else. Possibly some of the delicata squash that I have would do well here. I've harvested more of the Beatina, and I'm just harvesting, blanching, and freezing for later when I'm going to be really happy to have fresh greens. The crimson clover is looking really nice with lots of red flowers on it. I stopped chopping and dropping it. I want it to be able to complete its life cycle, and then I'll have one big chop there once it has gone to seed, just to get it down and get it out of the way. And the dill here, well, this tomato plant, I tied it back. It was trying to crawl over toward the dill. These tomatoes are unstoppable. I'm absolutely going to do the same thing next year with turning that turf over from the side, flipping it, and putting it on the ground and letting that be the tomato nursery. It has worked really well. So much better than here. Let's see here. Yes, the dill. The dill is flowering, and I'm just going to let it bloom. I've already harvested enough of it, and I don't need any more. And I'm going to let the butterflies have at it. I'm going to let all the littles have the flowers and let the caterpillars enjoy the foliage. And I found with these bird scare ribbons, in the recent storms and rain we had, the ones that were tied lower down just got all wrapped up in the tomato plants. It's much better if you put them on the top rung so that they can just float around in the air and not get tangled up in the plant. I did harvest some oregano and it is hot. Spicy, spicy. Got some good mycorrhizal fungi going in the compost pile. I did dig through that and found some nice white hyphae developing in there, so that's good news. I have not turned that pile, so I think it's just going to be whatever is clever. And here you can see I harvested all the carrots and I have chopped and dropped the greens. Some of them were really small, but most of them were good size and their flavor was just amazing. I have blanched those. I haven't seen any more Japanese beetles, and that's good. You can see the seed pods for the snow peas are getting poofy, and that's how you can tell they're getting mature. They are no longer good to eat, but they are great to save seeds for next year. And look at the shiso getting so big. Oh, this tomato plant. I'm going to have to prune this tomato plant back because it's just crawling over them already. Gracious. What else? The pepper plants that have been transplanted are doing well. They seem to be getting bigger already. They just wanted some light. And lots of bees. The bee population has exploded. I'm wondering what's going on with that. They definitely came because of the borage, but something else has triggered them. I believe that's all for now. I'll leave you with these pretty flowers, and I'll see you next time. Happy gardening. Hello, gardening friends. It is June 29th. This is the month end wrap up. I was just here yesterday, but we can just check in, take a look, see if anything new has happened. The baby cantaloupe is doing well. It's got a couple of new leaves. It's got a friend here. And I did move marigolds right there. They were being shaded by other plants. They'll do better right there, and they'll help protect the cantaloupes. They're a great trap crop. Clover's looking cute. And here, the baby pepper plant. Yep, looking good. They're greening up a little bit now. It looks like they're getting access to some nutrients and doing better. That's the other cantaloupe. I put it right there. I will let it climb this tomato cage and get it up off the ground. The two of those over there will be on the ground, but they're going to be on pretty thick mulch that will protect them from just laying in the dirt. You don't want your cantaloupes lying directly on the dirt if you can avoid it. And here, I thought these were perpetual spinach. This is lettuce. This is romaine lettuce, and I don't need more lettuce, frankly. I'm just going to harvest all these and have a baby green salad and open up some more space for some additional pepper plants that I have going at the house because I do love peppers. Another pepper plant, still trying to flower. Kale's looking awesome. I have been harvesting that. This is one of my favorite types of kale. And it looks like this one's getting a bit eaten up. I'm going to come out next time and spray some BT just to ensure that the kale doesn't get killed by whatever's chomping on it. I want to give the birds a chance to come in and get caterpillars for food, but I don't want them to kill my harvest. Wild bulbils. They look otherworldly. They really do. Whatever this is, these two... and it's got little brothers down here that are being covered up by the nasturtium. I'll probably have to move those if I want them to flower. Probably right there, next to the black seed. Tomato plants are just like shrubs. I've never had tomato plants react like this before. Snapdragon's looking cute. And this one over here finally bloomed. It's white. So that's nice. I planted it a little too close to the coreopsis. Didn't expect that thing to get that big in its first year. Terry's got a good sized pepper here. Nice. Head start. Note to self, give your peppers a head start. That is a big ass bee. I'm going to let that thing just have the aisle all to itself. Come on, bee. I planted it for you. The cucumber melons are looking better. They're getting bigger. They're climbing their little string. I think they're going to be all right. The tomatoes all look healthy. There's no sign of blossom end rot. So I'm happy about that. We are supposed to get some rain today. I don't know that I need to water these plants, but intuitively I feel like I should water them just to keep the water consistent. It's important once the plant has set fruit to keep the watering consistent. So we'll start again next month and see what happens, see who's blooming and who's doing what.